The world was on the brink of grievous pandemic, turning infected human beings to bloodthirsty like zombie creatures. These zombies could run at top speed and reacted instinctively to movements and sound. Our protagonist would wake up to a world where he had to fend for himself to survive even though he was ill prepared to it. Alright, enough of 28 Days Later. The monumental 2002 Danny Boy's post-apocalyptic horror feature certainly inspired many films, television series, and books. Zack Snyder's remake of Dawn of the Dead gave a contemporary twist of George A. Romero's classic and had its moments. Obsessions of zombie cross genres into comedy like Shaun of the Dead and Zombieland, romance in Warm Bodies, and anti-Nazi films like Dead Snow. Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead comic series created an extensive world which we had human characters balancing their own good and evil traits. A world of despair and hopelessness made fans grasping at the sliver of hope wherever available, and this made the AMC TV series a cable TV phenomenon with showrunners like Frank Darabont and Glenn Mazzara who were able to deliver it brilliantly. In the post-Walking Dead world, zombie culture continued to build from strength to strength with films like World War Z and TV series like iZombie. The allure of making zombie movies made its way to other parts of the world like South Korea with Train to Busan from director Yong San-ho, injecting new life and inspired filmmakers in Asia to make movies like One Cut of the Dead, Alive, I Am a Hero, and The Sadness, etc. South Korea continued to deliver enduring zombies apocalypse on TV series like Kingdom and All of Us Are Dead, both available on Netflix, therefore aid in the popularity worldwide. With the entire world debilitated by the COVID-19 pandemic, the fear of a spread of disease where no one is safe, a movie like Bird Box or a game turned TV series like The Last of Us became more relatable and can give you nightmares just watching what transpired on screen. From Spain, author Manel Loreiro gained fame with his Apocalypse Z series of books, first published in 2012. 12 years later, director Carles Torrens would adopt the popular book series into Apocalypse Z, the beginning of the end. Our main protagonist Manel became reclusive after the death of his wife and became unaware of the widespread of a deadly virus across Europe, which had turned the infected into aggressive zombies. When Manel, who had been shunning phone calls from his sisters and the family, supposed the only loved ones he had left in this world, started to realize the degree of seriousness plaguing the world outside, he set on the quest to reunite with his sister. So from the get-go, there were very familiar plot elements from the likes of Bird Box, Train to Busan, and 28 Weeks Later. The flagrant use of the car of our main characters being smashed on the blind side was a tiresome trope at this point, but felt like director Torrens needed to revisit that trope to exemplify the weight of the grief felt by Manel from the prologue onwards. Seeing people raiding supermarkets for provision certainly brought me back to the pre-pandemic lockdown all of us had experienced. However, the interactions of the reclusive Manel had with people he met during this period had nuanced effects in terms of trust and allowing him to wise up at such storylines you needed to fend against both the infected or the undead and the much scarier living survivors. Audience who had watched seasons of The Walking Dead or tension-filled trailers like World War Z or Train to Busan will find the set pieces in Apocalypse Z to be nothing novel, in fact, might pale in comparison. Released on the heels of The Quiet Place Day 1, one could not help but see a lot of parallels in plot elements as well as having a cat companion. At least Luculo here made a lot of noises as a cat should, and then a key action scene at the dock, which also brought me back to the ending part of Day 1. Manel, our main lead, played by Francisco Ortiz, was not the most charismatic protagonist. He sort of made up for his lack of charisma with his earnest nature when dealing with people. There was one particular part when he met an elderly lady who has been discarded by her own family in his neighborhood, and the gut-wrenching resolution of that story arc certainly helped to make the audience to root for Manel on his mission. As usual, you got to have a group of unrepentant human antagonists who threw the wrench in the works, bringing about a large amount of exasperation to the audience for their actions. I'm not sure if Manel Loreiro had created the Russians as the despicable and vile antagonists, but in the light of the raging Ukraine war, it was not difficult for audience from the rest of the world to paint them in the lesser light the moment the characters will be introduced. There were a couple of prominent and effective jump scares. Do keep an eye out on a ghastly discovery on a yacht in the dark. Otherwise, this movie was quite light on the horror filmmaking. More nitpicking here as yet another plot element in a makeshift garrison to fend off the hordes of infected was exactly the same concept used in All of Us Are Dead. Despite adopting the typical methodology for such thriller, putting our heroes in between the rock and the hard place, and we see how they tried to dexterously worm their way out to nail the small victory, I was still able to immerse myself till the very end. Let's give some kudos to Spanish director Carles Torrens. His first prominent feature film was 2012 Apartment 143 or Amigo, which delved into a parapsychology team investigating a family whose apartment was a hotspot for strange occurrences. In 2013, Torrens made M for Mama for ABC of Death, and a fantasy horror short film sequence which played with the whole time loop element. His last horror feature was 2016's Pet, which synopsis sounds like a cross between Don't Breathe and 9.5 Weeks, starring Dominic Monaghan of Lord of the Rings and Lost fame. With Apocalypse Z being widely available on Amazon Prime Video, it was not difficult to access a competently made thriller which might minimally satisfy the less fussy zombie films loving viewers. I'm giving Apocalypse Z The Beginning of the End a 6 out of 10. I really do not know if this review will come out before 2024 ends, but do watch out for my look back of horror films of 2024 and my top 10 of the year as well. As usual, please click the like button as a token of appreciation, and do subscribe to my channel if you have not. My previous review was on Tim Burton's revisit to Winter River and the Netherworld in Beetlejuice. Singapore really needed to make a more competent zombie feature than a god-awful Zombie Bura. Good night all.